Hello everybody, welcome back. We're just going to have a quick look at Bitcoin, but before we look at that, I just want to bring something to your attention, which is that the dollar hasn't yet broken down. It looks as though it might find itself a rejection at this green 50 exponential here on the 4 hourly. If it doesn't, however, we might be looking to reclaim this zone here, which is which would certainly be a resistance to start with. But if we got back in here, then it might be looking pretty nasty for Bitcoin. One thing I wanted to bring to your attention is that we're looking here on Bityard, where obviously I do all my margin trading, and I've moved over just today from trading the altcoins and Bitcoin, and I've moved basically back into the traditional markets, because what we're seeing here is a nice sell-off here. I say a nice sell-off. It is a nice sell-off. It's a reaction to that price of the dollar going up. It's a bit of a fear that it might actually rally, and people aren't expecting it to rally. They're thinking it's dead, and it is dead. It will continue to go down. But to put things into context, you might have seen me show you this before. This is it on the monthly chart. This is basically 2017 into 18, where Bitcoin had its all-time high, and this is the 200 exponential moving average on the monthly. And we did bounce from there and have a continued rally from there. Now we've come back down there to test it again just this month, which is, you know, an obvious area for it to bounce. And this is what I said when I saw it. I said, look, we're likely to have a bounce from here, even if it's weak. The chances are we will bounce from here. Now the fact that this was Bitcoin's all-time high, and that this is Bitcoin's all-time high, it is correlated, because a weaker dollar means a stronger commodity, stock, or Bitcoin, so that has lent itself to the strength of Bitcoin. If we bounce from here, though, it will basically, you know, Bitcoin will feel that. But who's feeling it the most at the moment? I'd probably say traditional markets, which is why I've moved over to trading this at the moment, because if this continues to go up, this will continue to go down, and this is a more of a stable asset to trade in comparison to Bitcoin. So I personally think that we do have a little bit further to drop on this Nasdaq here. I think we could be going to 12,200, or maybe even a sub 12,000. So I've done some shorts on this at the moment. I've taken my profits. I'm looking to do some more shorts on this maybe later on today, and certainly, you know, there will be bounces for the Nasdaq, but this is a bit of a telltale sign that sell-offs are taking place as a result of a dollar that's increasing in strength, ever so slightly, but there is a chance, you know, that we do break. Now if we look at this on I will move over to Bitcoin, I promise you, but if we do look over to the hourly, what we're finding is that these moving averages are getting closer and closer together. Last time we had a positive cross on this was all the way back down here. This is the similar sort of scenario that we saw here, that we're seeing at the moment. Basically resistance support on the hourly. Whichever way it wants to break should cause continuation, maybe even as much as 1%, and 1% for a Dixie chart is you know, could transfer into as much as 5 or 10% for Bitcoin, depending on which way it wants to go. So this is the chart to look at, this is the one to watch. And if we look at the 4 hourly chart, MACD is now crossing over into positive territory, and actually is looking quite good. So I think it would be right for people to be taking profits or to be taking shorts on some of these assets. I'm not your financial advisor, don't do as I say, but me personally, I'm more interested in shorting traditional markets on Bityard at the moment than I am you know, shorting Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is clearly extremely volatile. As soon as it hits wherever it decides its bottom is going to be, which we'll have a look in a minute, you know, your shorts, you need to be on ball, you need to be on the ball to take those profits, whereas the Nasdaq, a lot more stable, plus you can use leverage up to 200%, 200x on this one, which I would not suggest you do, but because it's more of a stable asset and the volatility is less, then it is more appropriate to use things like 50x, I suppose. Anyway, links for Bityard down at the bottom, and there are perks and benefits for setting up a new account with them if you use that link. Anyway, let's look at Bitcoin. We'll work out what's going on with this. We're looking at it here on the hourly chart, which isn't very useful. We'll start with the daily. So on the daily, what we said yesterday is that we're likely to find resistance at the center of the Bollinger Band, or the 20 simple moving average, or the 20 moving average, which we all know about the 20 weekly, which is the be all and end all for most people when it comes to trading Bitcoin. Most people know all about it, and it's essentially the center of a Bollinger Band. If we're above it, we're bullish. If we're below it, we're bearish, and that stands for every time frame roughly. So, you know, the idea is if you're above the center of a Bollinger Band, you're more likely to stay above it, and you could treat the center of it as support. And if you're beneath it, you're more likely to stay beneath it, and you can treat the center of it as resistance. It is that simple. People like to make these things out to be really, really complicated, to make themselves seem really intelligent or whatever. It's not really that difficult to place supports and resistances, especially when we're flipping them. So yesterday I took a short from here and it's worked out quite well. Closed that now, and I'm looking to see if we break above it. If we break above it, then fine, we can consider more bullish territory. But at the moment what we're doing is we're closing beneath all these major moving averages. What we see is we have the descending trend line, which obviously broke, and this is where we sort of made most of our shorts a couple of days ago. This was an opportunity last night, and we took that short, and it's worked out quite well. And now what's happening is we're beneath the 7 simple, the 10 exponential, which is a big deal, and the 20 moving average, which is the center of the Bollinger Band, and we're also beneath this, which was previously support and resistance blue box territory. So to me, it actually does look like it wants to continue with a leg down, and considering the Dixie is doing what it could be support or resistance, it's actually taking a little bit of a dump actually as we've been making this video. This is technically a resistance zone, this green 50 exponential, that is a resistance zone, so I would expect that to take place there. That should hopefully lend itself to positive price action across the board with Nasdaq and Bitcoin and even gold, things like that. So we'll be looking to maybe make trades on that to the up. But at the moment with Bitcoin, regardless of the Dixie dumping at this level, or being, should I say, rejected at this level, itself as a chart as it stands at this very moment in time is, and we can't deny the fact that it's below all these major moving averages of any significance. So this is, like I say, a daily, and previously on the daily what we've done is we've been above the center of the Bollinger Band, we've ridden the 10 exponential, this orange one you can see here coming down, testing it, bouncing it, testing it, bouncing it, broke down on this one occasion here, and then reclaimed it, tested it, and if we move up to another gear, to our top gear of bullishness, essentially we don't even test that anymore. We test this white one here, which is the 7 simple moving average, and basically we test all that all the way up. Now what we're looking to do, as we see these crossing over to the towards below the bottom of this the center of this Bollinger Band, we're now looking to see those become resistances. And if that is the case, what that's going to do is we'll find pumps, and we should be looking for, I suppose, taking shorts at these levels, shorts of the center of the Bollinger Band, and maybe over the next coming days as this 10 exponential moves below there, taking shorts from the 10 simple, and so on and so on and so on. So we're looking at areas of resistance more than we are at support at the moment, so we need to look at areas of support. This is an area of support. Okay, so we're just, what happened there? So this is our area of support here, which is roughly around 16,600 to 16,200. This would be a big dip area if it did break down below there. There is also these areas here, which is a very, very basic, simple one, basically where we see these candle bodies closing, and that comes in around about 17,125. That would be, I suppose, the next area for a significant bounce, first level of bounce, and it's also, I suppose, where the bottom of this Bollinger Band lies. So I am actually looking for this to break down, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but essentially find itself down to this level before the next significant buyback. Obviously, we have this wick here at 17,660. That could be bought back easily, but I think with the momentum at the moment, the way it's going and what's happening here, so again that the dollar is, it's refusing to die at this level specifically. It does look as though it wants to reclaim this zone and maybe even come up to this level. That's not going to be a good sign for any of these assets. Short in this, that will be my game plan. And let's have a quick look over to the sentiment in retail markets at the moment. So it's below 66, and for me personally, when I always think of 66, obviously that's that is net long. CME futures are net short, but I often notice that there is a turning point when we see net longs on traditional retail markets. Like when I use this is just to get an overview of what generally is taking place. We can almost discount Bitfinex really, because that's been pretty much in the 80s for the vast majority of the year. I don't know what's wrong with this, so I kind of look more at these two, even though there's a significant amount of money involved in Bitfinex. These two I personally look at the most. These two fluctuate, whereas this basically stays the same. So overall 66%, but look, we're more short on Binance than we are longs. which isn't huge amounts of money. It's pretty small in comparison to these other two, but look, there is becoming a bit more of a level playing field. So if CME futures are net short, Binance is net short, and BitMEX is almost coming to a 50-50 level, there is a definite change in sentiment. And when we see the Nasdaq dumping like this in a day, and we see the dollar, you know, possibly ready to break out of this resistance zone, things are looking a little bit bearish, I would say. So I would basically err on the side of caution really now. Obviously buybacks are very strong. You know, you're getting $1,000 in one buyback if you're willing to try and catch knives. But personally, I think the idea for me would be more likely to try and take shorts from resistances than try and buy back from supports at these levels. Because personally, I actually think that these levels will break down. I think this will be bought back up, and then it'll basically consolidate. I'm not a bear. This isn't bearish. Put this into consideration, all right? We've gone 100% in a few months, okay? So we need to consolidate from that. I think this is a healthy consolidation pattern forming at the moment, and it may take a few more weeks, maybe even a month or so, to fully play out. And those levels that we could essentially be brought all the way back down to would be this trend line here, which isn't even a big deal either. As long as we're above there, everything's good to go for the all-time highs and further and further and further next year. If you think we can do 100% in a few months, we can do that again, and we can do it again. And by the end of next year, we'll be probably seeing that quite frequently. But for the moment, a consolidation is perfectly fine, especially with the dollar looking like this, the Nasdaq selling off. It all makes sense. So anyway, I'll leave it with you there. I hope that made sense to you. Join my Telegram if you want to know more. And like I say, if you want to trade traditional markets with crypto, Bityard is your place. Get yourself set up. There's links on all that below. Take it easy. Thank you for watching.